Before we dive into heart-pounding dog stories, please subscribe my channel. Many people watch videos without subscribing. Your one subscribe help me to create story like this, and hit bell icon for more stories like this. The funeral was silent until the German Shepherd began barking at the coffin, refusing to stop. At first, everyone thought it was grief. But when the barking turned frantic, something shifted. What the dog was trying to say would uncover a miracle so shocking, it left every mourner speechless and trembling. Today, they were saying goodbye to Officer Michael Turner, a decorated hero, a beloved husband, and a partner to one very special German Shepherd. At the foot of the casket sat Max, Michael's loyal K9 companion. He wore his black vest with the word police stitched boldly across the side. But Max didn't sit still. He let out a low whine, then a soft bark. At first, no one paid attention. They assumed he was just grieving, confused by the crowd in the absence of his partner's voice. Then Max's behavior changed. He stood on all fours, ears pricked, eyes fixed on the casket. His tail stiffened as a deep growl rumbled from his chest. Suddenly, he began barking sharply, loud, desperate, echoing across the room like a warning. People turned in their seats, confused. The officer beside Max tried to tug him back gently, but the dog wouldn't budge. Instead, he lunged toward the casket, his paws scraping at the polished wood. Whispered murmurs spread through the chapel. Something was wrong. The widow looked up, startled. Max had never behaved like this. His bark wasn't just sorrow. It was a signal. The barking didn't stop. People began shifting uncomfortably in their seats. Some assumed it was the stress of the moment. Others wondered if Max was reacting to grief in the only way he knew how. But to those who had worked with K9s before, veteran officers sitting in the pews, there was something unsettlingly familiar in the way Max was reacting. It wasn't panic. It wasn't fear. It was alertness. Focus. The kind of intensity only a working dog shows when he's on to something. One of Michael's close colleagues, Officer Harris, stood up and walked over. "Easy, boy," he said softly, crouching down and placing a hand on Max's neck. But Max didn't flinch or growl. Instead, he barked again, sharper this time, directed right at the base of the coffin. Then something shifted. Max stopped barking and started pacing in circles around the casket, whining, sniffing along the edges. He returned to the same spot, paused, tapping at the wood. That's when Officer Harris noticed something strange, an almost imperceptible noise coming from inside. A faint, muffled cry. Harris's face paled. He turned to the funeral director. "Open it," he said urgently. Gasps rippled through the mourners. The director hesitated, stammering something about protocol, but Harris's voice grew firm. "Open the casket now." Max growled again, pressing his nose to the lid. The room fell dead silent as the lid creaked open, and nestled beneath Michael's folded hands, hidden in the folds of his uniform, was a tiny, squirming newborn puppy alive. No one moved. The air inside the funeral home thickened with disbelief as eyes locked on the tiny creature stirring on Michael's chest. The puppy was trembling, no more than a few days old, its fur still damp from birth, its nose searching blindly for warmth. Max let out a soft, low whimper, tail wagging cautiously as he peered into the coffin. His entire posture had shifted from frantic to protective, almost paternal. "How? How did it even get there?" someone whispered. The priest crossed himself. Is this a sign?" But Officer Harris, trying to steady his shaking hands, leaned closer and gently scooped the fragile pup from the casket. As he did, something slipped from under the edge of Michael's jacket. A folded piece of paper. Curious and shaken, he picked it up, noticing Michael's handwriting on the outside. It read, "If anything happens to me, please take care of them." "Them," Harris echoed aloud. Another gasp filled the room. Max, still standing guard, gently nuzzled the infant puppy and let out a bark, not one of alarm, but of confirmation. He wasn't just reacting to grief. He had been trying to protect the pup all along. Michael hadn't just trained Max to obey commands. He had entrusted him with something far deeper. Loyalty beyond death. And Max had delivered, leading everyone to a miracle no one would have believed if they hadn't witnessed it with their own eyes. Tears began to flow. But now they weren't just for mourning. They were for wonder. As the guests slowly gathered around, Officer Harris unfolded the note with trembling fingers. The room had gone completely silent. No more sniffles, no more whispered prayers. All eyes turned to the worn piece of paper that Michael had left behind, as if it might explain the mystery none of them could comprehend. The letter began simply. "If you're reading this, it means I didn't make it home." Gasps echoed through the room. Even the priest stepped back, stunned by Michael's foresight. "But if Max is still with you, and if by some miracle she made it, too, then please know this wasn't an accident. I knew she was coming. I kept it a secret because I didn't want anyone to panic or try to stop me. Max and I, well, we've seen things most can't understand, but we always understood each other." Officer Harris paused, choking on his words, then continued. "She was born the night I went missing in the cold, alone. Max didn't leave my side, not even when he had the chance to run. He stayed. He guarded. And when I closed my eyes for the last time, I only hoped someone would hear him bark." The crowd broke down. The puzzle had been solved. The barking wasn't grief. It was a final message, a cry for help, a guardian's alarm. Michael's final mission hadn't been about himself. It had been about protecting a life he'd barely met. And Max had made sure that life wasn't forgotten. Later that evening, as the sun dipped low beyond the hills, the puppy lay wrapped in a soft blanket inside the precinct's K-9 office. A nurse who had been attending the funeral confirmed it. Despite the cold, dehydration, and hours spent in the coffin, the puppy would survive. "It's a miracle," she whispered, eyes glistening. Max sat quietly beside the crib, his eyes locked on the tiny bundle. His usual stiffness had melted away, replaced by a calm protectiveness no one had ever seen in him before. Officers passed by, heads shaking in disbelief, some stopping just to sit beside him. This wasn't just a rescue. It felt sacred. Emma, Michael's widow, arrived holding the letter tightly in her hand. She crouched beside Max, tears streaming freely. "He knew," she whispered. "He knew she'd need you." She reached out and gently stroked Max's head. He leaned into her hand, eyes soft, body still. Emma looked down at the pup, her voice trembling. "She'll grow up knowing who her father was and the dog who saved her life." Harris stood nearby, watching the scene unfold. "He never stopped protecting," he said. "Even in death." The department decided unanimously the puppy would stay with Emma and Max. She would grow up not only surrounded by love, but with a living piece of her father watching over her. And Max, he hadn't just lost his partner. He had found his new purpose. He hadn't barked out of fear. He barked because life still remained. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. If you like this amazing K9 dog story, don't forget to like and subscribe. More awesome stories are coming. If this happened at a funeral you attended, would you believe it was fate or coincidence? Let me know your answer in the comment box below.